Hello everyone, today we'll do a Dropshoot tutorial, so it will be for new players as well as more advanced players. So I will start with the basics, of course. Dropshoot is running on the sand very fast, like this. It's very useful to travel very long distances quite fast, or you can also get a very powerful boost if you manage to keep the camera angle like this, but it's harder, and I will cover all of this during today's tutorial. Personally, I use this technique a lot because it's just my most favorite one by far. It has always been, and I went a little overboard on the wiki article with the details because I had lots of stuff to tell you about, and hopefully this video will help you illustrate a bit everything that's told over there. So I invite you now to join me in Pink Desert level by taking like 2 symbols in chapter select, maybe the ones from Broken Bridge as well if you want to. It will help you recover more quickly if you do mistakes. And now just at the right of the entrance, I invite you to go over there. Here you can see I'm a bit higher than the ground level, and from there you can do your first dive. So the goal would just be to push the camera down, you jump in the air, and you push the left stick fully forward while doing so, like this. So you may have noticed the exact moment I landed, the camera flattened. So this will be the main problem the Dropshoot technique has, managing to keep the camera angle completely down to get good boosts. So one good way to avoid this first is to let go completely of the camera stick the moment you land or a little before landing. If you play with a mouse, you stop moving your mouse completely. If you play with a keyboard only, you stop pressing the arrow keys for the camera like this. Okay? And now let's do the same, but I let go of camera. So I jump, camera down, left stick forward, and I let go of camera. So here I let go of camera after I got into a diving position. If you let go of the camera too soon, you won't be diving. Okay? So it's important. The moment you hit the ground, you can't be touching the camera at all. So I invite you to do this a few times, get used to it. Oh, I let go. And bam, this works nice. Now next step is the moment you hit the ground, you press and you hold the jump button down for continuously. So like this, up, I let go, jump. Okay, so this is your first drop shoot. Congrats. And then to get a boost, like I did here, after you've done like 3 or 4 jumping animations, if you do more than this, the camera will keep on flattening anyway, because the game really loves to show you what lies ahead of you. So what you have to do is just push the left stick back towards you after 3-4 flaps, and you release the jump button at this moment too. So I'll do it entirely once more. So I get into a dive, let go of camera, jump, 2, 3, and left stick towards me, and I can push the camera back down after starting the boost to make sure I keep a camera aimed down. Alright? That's a lot of information already, so take it slowly. And only once you're used to doing these first steps, which are the basic drop shoot, then boost, like this. Do it a few times, and then you can move on to more difficult stuff. So, also, if you play with on PS4 or PS3, there is something called Sixaxis, which makes, by moving your controller, you can make the camera move around. It's a terrible thing to have when we do fancy flying, especially the drop shoot. So really make sure you don't move your controller at all. Like basically, try to have it, this part of your body, make sure it's on your lap and your controller doesn't move. Okay, you keep steady all the time during the dive, and you should be fine. So now there is a way to make sure the camera doesn't rise after a little while during the drop shoot. It is actually to just flick the camera stick left and right like this. So flicking is a complex topic, everyone does it a bit differently. Me personally, I tend to do it quite aggressively, like a bit like this, you see. Sometimes I press and hold the camera fully left for like a second or two. Sometimes I just do small taps on sides. This is to turn during the drop shoot, because you always want to keep a left stick fully forward. since if you drop shoot with the sideways left stick, it can reduce the maximum boost the camera angle can give you. As a reminder, the more a camera aims down, the more boost energy you can gain if you dive for long enough, and if you manage to keep the camera angle. So yeah, basically I try to avoid a left stick sideways, and I turn with the camera. So to do this, small flicks like this, or long ones like this sometimes, and when I go forward, usually I just go right and left like this. If my camera is rather flat, I don't necessarily go fully left or fully right, I just stay in the middle like this. And when I need to fight the camera a lot, I go like this. If you play with a mouse on a PC, sadly you cannot flick. At least I didn't find a way to flick, because you know, you will always move the camera a little up or down and it won't work. If you play with the keyboard only, you can use the arrow keys like this and it works nicely. Make sure you don't press both at the same time. Switch from right to left like this. And it works. With the right stick from a controller, you try to stay on the horizontal axis, aka not flicking diagonally like this or like this. Because it will flatten your camera most likely, so try to keep it flat. It doesn't matter if you're slightly sideways like this. I tend to be slightly sideways personally. I tend to do upright, down left, very slightly. But it still works, okay? But if you do it too much, it won't. So let's show you an example. Now I invite you to start from the ground rather than a dune, since it's a bit harder. So to start a drop shoot from the bottom of the sand, you would just jump towards the camera like this, like maybe once or twice, and then you get into a dive. And the same way as before, you let go of the camera stick before landing, you press jump when you touch the ground, and as soon as you touch the ground, you can start your flicking. Let's do this. I jump twice towards the camera, get into a dive, let go of camera, and there I flick. You can do this for a little while, and then you boost towards the camera like usual. And as you see, I can get a very nice boost. Like this already. So my camera here didn't flatten at all. Maybe yours will a little, and if it does flatten, it means your flicking could have been better. And trust me, it's really hard to get used to it. It takes really a lot of practice to figure out how to flick under which situations. Yeah. Hopefully over time you'll get good at it. Okay, so one more example. I get into a dive, up, and I start flicking like this. I turn the camera sideways fully for a little while sometimes. Like this, why not? See, you can control where you're going by turning the camera like this. So there the camera flattened a bit. It's normal your camera flattens because it's almost impossible to keep it fully down for a full dive. Otherwise, drop shoot would be as powerful as a charge boost, but it's extremely hard to make it be as good. So now I invite you to do a little exercise, which is to land at the bottom of dunes of sand and boost at the top, and fighting to keep the camera angle constant during the whole drop shoot. So you would jump like this, get into the dive, you press and hold jump, you start flicking the right stick, and you boost at the top like this. Alright, so you see we can gain quite a lot of height already. So I invite you to, maybe you have noticed, but the moment I started boosting, I didn't push the camera back down immediately. I waited for like 1 or 2 seconds before doing this. This is because when you start boosting, if you immediately push the camera down, it will have the same effect as when you're drop shooting on the sand, which is the camera will flatten instead of aiming down. Because you're still very close to the sand. So you need to first gain some height with the boost, and then you can push the camera down to gain the optimal height. However, if you have already fucked up your camera angle before you start boosting, you can immediately push the camera down and it will make things better. This is a very small improvement, but I tend to do it often. So let's try again. Get into a dive, you press, you flick the right stick, and then you boost like this and push camera down now. See? Alright, so the drop shoot isn't very long because this dune isn't that big, What you can do to slow down and charge even longer is to do big chirps. Big chirp is extremely useful, yeah, to slow down and stay longer on a small surface. It would look like this. So I flick and I do big chirps. And push camera down. Have a look. Much better, you see. Usually I would boost towards the camera to gain lots of height after charging a powerful boost, or when I'm having fun from dunes to dunes, but when I'm trying to travel fast, I usually go for boosting with the camera. I aim up to the sky, and I try to dive again before running out of boost. Let's say I want to travel through Pink Desert fast, so I flatten my camera here, I flick, and then I boost camera up, and I dive again before running out of boost. Rest jump when I land, I flick, I boost, I dive again before running out of boost, I press jump, I flick, and I boost camera up. Okay, this is a very good training you can do, learning to dive again before it's too late and the camera gets very slow. And you can boost towards the camera like this as well. So maybe you saw here what I did is I pressed my camera fully left or right before boosting. This allowed, because when you boost towards the camera, usually you go like this, and then you boost, oops, back to where you were ahead going from. But it's if you turn the camera sideways like this, will boost towards here. So it's actually a good move to learn. It looks like this. So let's say I'm diving here. So I would hold the camera stick fully left or right, and then I boost towards it by doing half a circle with the left stick. Maybe you didn't see, but I did this with the left stick. So it went quite fast, this half a circle movement, but it's how you get a smooth transition between the dive and the boost while still moving forward. Let's show you once again. Dive, press jump, and then I turn my camera sideways and I boost like this. So here I wasn't making any contact with the ground at the end, but it still worked. I just emptied my scarf a bit. So if you start fancy flying around fast, like I was, speedrunner style, you will easily end up scarfless at one point or another, and you will have to find solutions to stick to the ground without scarf power. So the most easy way to do this is to start a drop shoot against a very steep hill of sand, because even if you are scarfless, if you land against it and press hold and hold the jump button down, the character won't manage to jump in the air. Even if he jumps, it will stay in contact with the ground, and the scarf will start to recharge, and let's say the drop shoot will just work. The dune ahead of me here isn't really steep enough, and if I do this, I doubt it will work. Let's try anyway. Press and hold jump. Okay, it sort of worked, but that was a bit limit. If the dune of sand ahead of you isn't too steep, the best solution I found is to aim for the junction between the downward slope and the upward one, and you slide in it. This way you don't lose any speed, and it recharges your scarf, and all you have to do is, as soon as you slide and start sliding up, you press and hold jump, and the drop shoot will stick instantly. Let's show you this. So I am scarfless, I am scarfless, I aim for the junction, I slide and press and hold jump there. You see how well it works? Let's show it again over there. I aim for the drop in there, slide, press and hold jump, and it works. But that's a very useful way to recover. And the more your camera aims down, the easier it is to recover as well if you're scarfless. In case you don't really have an upward slope to land against to make sure your scarf recharges when you are scarfless in the air, you have no choice. Let's say the ground is flat, you have no choice but to hit it, camera fully down. You wait for about a second so your scarf can recharge, then you jump in the air once and you press and hold upon doing a second contact with the ground, but make sure you keep on flicking all the time to maintain the camera angle. It would look like this. I empty my scarf on purpose, then I hit the ground, jump, press and hold again, you see? And that's harder to do. It's actually easier to recover from a RDS a failed reverse drop shoot like this, because you don't have to flick the camera stick on top of thinking about recovering your failed scarf. So there is something else that would be useful you learn. Let's say you have done a drop shoot for a very short time, 1 or 2 seconds only, and you want to keep on diving, but unfortunately you hit a gap. And instead of boosting because you're over a gap, you can keep on drop shooting, and to do this you'll have to let go of the jump button in the air to avoid ending up scarfless and pressing jump a second time. Let me illustrate. So here, let's assume I drop shoot over there, it's very short, so I let go of jump, and I press and hold jump again when doing second contact with the sand. So I forgot to flick because I was talking, so I will show it again. This way you can see it another time. So I dive, I drop shoot, I let go of jump, and I press and hold again the moment I do a second contact to keep on drop shooting and getting a stronger boost. Also, a funny tip, if you land against a dune, you can press and hold the jump button before even making contact with the ground. If you land on a flat surface, try to really time it perfectly to the exact moment you hit the sand, but you can press it in advance like here. Oops. And usually you still stick easily to the sand, because the ground it's really easier to drop shoot against an upward hill. And one last tip for you, if you want to boost with the camera up from the middle of a dune of sand instead of the top for some reason, maybe because you're afraid the camera will flatten, I don't know, you can do this, but you will have to keep on holding the jump button during the start of the boost. I will show you. So I do a slow dive here to make sure I have some boost power, and here I boost like this, and I keep on holding the jump button, and I release it only when I fully lift off the sand. So I started boosting like from there, and I was holding jump and released it only when I stopped making contact with the ground. So that's it for this video. It was a lot of tips and things to do. I hope you managed to keep up with all this. Take your time to practice drop shoot. There is so much to do with it. It's normal if it takes you quite a while before you get really good at it. And with that said, I think all that is left for me to do is make you a little drop shoot demonstration. Maybe I can show you one last funny thing you can do with drop shooting. Basically escaping Frederick the carpet. For this you wait for the gates to close and you jump off at this exact moment. So you start drop shooting over there and the chase game is on. So you see Frederick is just there and the goal is to escape it. So while doing this you practice drop shoots, and the good thing is anytime you do a mistake, it's a chance for Frederick to catch you. So if you're good enough, normally you shouldn't have any trouble to not getting caught. But yeah, it's not easy. I used to be terrible at this game when I started drop shooting. Don't worry, it's completely normal. It's not the fastest carpet, so you can take a bit your time sometimes. Let's go towards it. Aha! Anyway. A bit of slow drop shooting so you can catch up with me a little for a more interesting challenge. Oh, it's under the sand! Wow! Such a sneaky strat. Please! Oh gosh. Shooting star. There you go. So boosting towards the camera will help you get quickly on top of the dunes of sand like this, because if you boost with the camera up, it can be a problem. Oops. Alright, end of the chase game. Wasn't too bad. now you can just enjoy the ride. Up, alright, see ya carpet.